Okay, so you'll all get your little notification there, so it's recording. If you just let me know in the chat if you can't hear me, or if you can't see me or can't see the screen. Sometimes you have to go out and come back in again, so just let me know if you have any problems at any point. There will be a Q&A at the end. It's up to you. You can either note down any questions as you go along or pop them in the chat and I'll scroll back through at the end, or wait until the end and ask them. It's entirely up to you how you prefer to do it. So I'm going to start. And first of all, for those of you who just sort of randomly know me on Facebook and have just seen me on Facebook, I just want to talk about who I am and why I'm actually qualified to speak to you about this. So I'm basically the crazy dog lady that they've all warned you about. I've got 18 of my own dogs at the moment, all rescued. I've had 22 of my own dogs at one point in the past. That was the maximum I had of my own, plus 3 fosters. So we had 25 in the house at one point. I used to foster for various different rescues. I stopped doing that a few years ago, apart from I just took on another one in October and then we kept him. But I did stop rescuing and fostering about 3 years ago when we first took on our dog de Bordeaux, Bella, because she just took up too much of my time and energy taking care of her and her problems. So yes, we've always had foster dogs or rescue dogs, and because of my background, I used to take on the most traumatized ones with the worst behavioural problems. So things like the biting, the fears, you know, ones we couldn't touch, ones that didn't like cats, ones that didn't like other dogs, if you know, ones you wouldn't normally home. I used to bring them in, rehabilitate them, and some of them would be rehomed, some of them wouldn't. I basically speak dog better than I speak human. I find it really, really hard sometimes to connect with people, but absolutely can connect with any dog, no trouble, and can talk better dog than I can human. So if at any point you don't understand anything I'm saying because I'm talking dog, let me know in the chat, because it's not uncommon. I grew up in a family that loved dogs. My granddad had Doberman when I was really little. He then went on to have Springers. He's then had other rescue dogs. Families, uncles. It wasn't uncommon for us all to meet at my granddad's and then for there to be sort of 12, 13 dogs there as I was growing up. So it's always been a big thing for me, is having dogs and learning about them and knowing about them. I qualified as a behaviourist back in 2009. I had 4 dogs of my own and they were driving me absolutely mental, 4 little Jack Russells, and I just couldn't do anything with them. Wouldn't listen to me, didn't come back. We live on a farm and they'd be running around the farm and it just like, I'd just have to wait till they wanted to come home. And they barked all the time and it was just chaos. So I called in a behaviourist. I went through 3 behaviourists before I found one that I liked. And then eventually I just thought, you know what, I'll just learn this myself because it's easier than keep finding behaviourists. Obviously, what I'm going to talk about tonight is extreme. You may not be having the same sort of issues with your dogs, because I do take on the really extreme cases. I've had broken bones, you know, we've had dogs running around the streets that we've been chasing for 2 hours. It's been, yeah, we've had the extreme behaviours. So if I'm, you know, hopefully I'm gonna touch on things that I've taken from your forms when you applied for this, but if I do go to the extreme, that's why. I've worked with dogs from the UK and from abroad, so I really have had a variety of behaviours. So if you've got ex-street dogs or you've got anything like that, this applies to them as well. When I first started this, when I went from behaviour to this, I enjoyed helping dogs and I enjoyed rehabilitating the ones that were really, really bad. But I used to take them on myself and I ended up with 10 dogs to start with. And I just suddenly thought, really, I can't really be taking these dogs on and keeping them. Who thought I'd get to 22 after that? But I thought I'll rescue, I'll foster, I'll rehabilitate, and then the rescue can rehome. I went through most UK rescues, small ones, big ones. I applied as a foster, but I worked full-time in Pets at Home at the time. The behaviour was on the side. Obviously, I already had 10 dogs of my own. And what I was doing and what the techniques I wanted to use was so new that it was almost like they were going to be my case studies. And obviously, most rescues didn't want me to do that, which I completely understand. It's completely understandable. They don't want you practicing on their dogs. They want the dogs rehabilitated, ready to rehome, and they want to know it's going to work. So I went to Romanian rescues and I offered my services there, and they, yeah, you can foster for us all day long. So a lot of what I took on were Croatian dogs, Romanian dogs. I've had some Greece dogs, had one from Cyprus. So yeah, it's a lot of my rescues and my fosters have been ex-street dogs and foreign dogs. But I've had a lot of UK ones as well, because obviously I've taken them on from behaviour cases where people just gone, I just can't do that and I can't deal with that. I'm going to have to put it to sleep, or I'm going to have to give it to a rescue. And then I've taken it in thinking, oh, I'll do that and rehome it. And then that hasn't happened. So yeah, that's me. Two of the ones that they're my biggest ones that I've taken in. So we've got Chelsea there with me. He's my little Jack Russell Cross Chihuahua. He's one of my first ones I took in when I started behaviour back in 2009. I actually took him on in 2011, so I've been doing it a couple of years by then. And I thought, I had the big ego. I thought I could go and fix any dog that came my way. I could work with any dog. I could, you know, I'd done a few by then, and I thought, yeah, this is good. I can do this. So I got the call from Chelsea's mum, and I was actually at work at Pets at Home, and it was through one of the vets at Pets at Home that she called me. And he was a year old, and she said, I took him in to put him to sleep because he's bit my child, but they said, you can help me. When I got there, the child was 18 years old. So he wasn't a child. And this dog, little dog, come running through the house, and the lady hid behind me. She used me as a shield against him. And things she said were, we have to, if we want to get him in from the garden, we have to ring the doorbell, hide behind the middle door, and then shut the middle door and run to shut the back door. He steals food off our plates, and if we don't let him, he'll bite us. And he chews his bones and sharpens his teeth, ready to bite us. And then my biggest thing was when they had stairs that went up, had a platform, went up again, and he was standing on that platform and jumping and lunging at her face aggressively, landing and going up and doing it again. And we sat and we had a talk about, you know, the things she'd have to put in place and how she could help him. And she just said, I don't think I can do it. So seeing the stress in the house, I just offered to bring him home, work with him. And then when he started to understand the rules, she could come, we could have a conversation, and she could take him home and continue. I got him home, and yes, he was a problem, but not a major problem. Things worked to an extent. And then I've invited her around, and she sat on my sofa. And the one thing I did wrong is I didn't bring him in on a lead, because he hated leads. He was terrified of leads, he used to attack them. It's possible he was obviously hit with them because of the way he goes when you get a lead out. So I just let him in, trusting him, off lead, and he jumped straight up behind her and started biting her neck. And as I grabbed him away from her, he took his first chunk out of me, and I took him back to my kitchen, attached to my hand, and I had to wave a tea towel to distract him make him let go of my hand. Of course, I quickly wrapped my hand up and went back in, and she just said, no, she said, I can't. Do what you want with him, put him to sleep, keep him, do what you want with him, but I can't have him back, which understandable. So I kept him, and I thought I'll just keep working with him. That little dog broke bones in my fingers, my hands, and even my feet. If when it got to the point where I didn't want to go down with my hands when he was doing things, I'd sort of try and maneuver him out the way of my feet, and he would grab hold of my foot in the shoe and shake it like it was a rat. He'd just go crazy, and the only way to get him off you was to wave something else, so he almost like he thought he was being attacked, so he attacked that instead. And it got to 2013, so I've had him 2 years, and I wasn't making progress with him. And I just thought, why am I not making progress with this dog? I was sitting in the kitchen, like, head in my hands, crying my eyes out, thinking, they're right, this behaviour work doesn't work on every dog. So I was sort of sitting questioning why, and I started going through the times when he does it and the issues, and I worked out that it's when he didn't want to do something. So if I wanted him to go in the garden, he didn't want to. When someone knocked at the door, if he wanted to go and see someone, so for example, if Kev come in the door and like my other half, and he wanted to go and see him and I wouldn't let him, we'd have it then. And it was all times of excitement, anger, frustration. And I just thought, and you could see fear in his eyes sometimes with the lead, just complete fear. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm scared of spiders, and there's no one training that out of me. So if I wanted help, I would need to go and get therapy. I'd need to go to hypnotherapy or something like that, to try and get some help. And I just thought, there's got to be something like that for him. Anger management, you get anger management classes, you get anxiety. If you've got anxiety, you don't just go to a trainer and have it trained out of you. So I thought there's got to be something, and I started looking at other ways, and that's where I found the Reiki, the communication, and the other techniques I use now. And I started training with him, and then 6 years ago I took Brian on from Romania, and he'd been born in a kill shelter. So he'd never known anything kind. He was just absolutely terrified of life. He hid away, you couldn't touch him. If I went to even stroke him, his anal glands would go and he would physically poo and wee himself all over my kitchen. He wouldn't step outside the house. He didn't know the outside world, didn't like the outside world. We had one of those shell sandpits with wood shavings in our kitchen for about 3 months that he used as a litter tray, and he used to toilet in that. And it was just absolutely terrible and heartbreaking seeing how he was and the state he was in. And it took me 6 months of working with him with these techniques to actually be at a point where I could touch him and actually work with him. Even a vet said to me at one point, this dog's never going to be a pet. I don't know what you think you're doing. You need to have him put to sleep. He's not going to be a pet. And obviously I didn't do that. And 6 years on, I can cuddle up on the sofa with him, and he meets the visitors, and he still doesn't like going out he'll go out in the garden, but he doesn't like going out around the farm or out on walks or anything like that. He's quite happy with his little world. But obviously I don't push it, because I'm more than happy for him not to be stressed. I'd rather he was happy and not stressed. Obviously a lot of what I do is because of I've got quite a spiritual background. So I used to sort of go and sit in circles and tarot card readings, pendulums, all those sorts of things. So for me, my belief is that this is a living being with a soul. This isn't just a dog. This is an equal being to us. So that's where I'm coming from with what I do. It took me about 5 years to put this together and to actually perfect it to the point where I knew it could work with every dog. And that was, I had over 40 dogs come through my doors, rescue, but I wouldn't go and work with other people's dogs, because for me, if I get bitten, I get bitten. If someone else gets bitten, or they take their dog out and it attacks another dog, or it attacks a child, or I didn't want that on my head. So I spent 5 years working with seriously abused, traumatized dogs so that I could perfect this. And I took on every extreme behavioural problem just so that I could make sure this worked. and because I like the challenge, to be fair, if I'm completely honest. I started off working with dogs, so obviously brought them into my home, worked with them, and then I just thought, I can't keep doing this. This isn't, it's not feasible for me to keep bringing dogs in, whether they get rehomed again or not, being the only one working with these dogs. I need to work with clients, I need to work with other people's dogs, and I need to help a greater audience of dogs. Then I started thinking, I'll work with people, you know, we'll work with all these people, and we'll go in and we'll and I used to sort of go in and say, right, okay, well, we'll go through this, listen to the owner, go through what's going on with the dog, and then work on the dog. But what I found was I could go into that house every single week and do something with their dog, and that was absolutely fine. And the dog would be okay, and it'd be okay for 3 or 4 days, and things would settle down and you'd get some really good feedback, and then you'd go back the next week and things had escalated again. And I kept thinking, why is it doing this? You know, why have I got this going on when my dogs aren't doing this? I haven't got this problem at home. And obviously I started then working and thinking about it, and realized that the reason this happens is because if I lived with somebody that really shattered my confidence all the time, went to therapy for it, and then came home to live with that person again, nothing would change. It would literally, the therapy would sort of just scrape the surface each time, because I'm still putting myself in that position. And that's what I was doing with the dogs. I was going in, working with the dog, trying to release all their traumas, trying to sort out their emotional energy, trying to make them feel safer, happier, calmer, and work on problems. But they were still living in excitable households. They were still living stressful lives. Their parents were still coming home from work stressed out. And that was all building up inside the dog again. And the dog was still being put in situations that were actually causing it stress and anxiety. And then we were wondering why nothing was working. So that's now why I work the way I do today, which is what I'm going to go on to explain. Okay, so where does our dog's behaviour come from? So a dog's behaviour is an expression of how it feels at that moment in time. Okay, so you get home, the dog's happy, and it's jumping up and it's bouncing and its tail's wagging and it's vocal and it's going crazy because it's happy. The postman comes to the door and it's having the same behaviours, but it might not be because it's happy. It could be because, oh my God, there's a danger and there's a stress at the door, and you've suddenly got a stressed dog having the same reactions. So dogs only have a certain amount of reactions. They bark, they mouth, they chew, they whinge, they howl, sorry. They can dig, they can hump, they can, you know, thinking of the other one, they'll jump up. That's it. So you've got all these different reactions, and those reactions can appear regardless of how they're feeling. It is just a reaction to how they're feeling at that moment in time. They have internal and external influences. I always say to people that dogs have their own stuff going on. Okay, they will have their own fears, their own phobias, their own issues with things. You know, things like fireworks, for example. That's not all on an owner. That they've got their own issues over fireworks. It's scared them, it's stressed them out, it's worried them. However, they do also have external influences. So high energy household, high stressful households, and our hearts give out an electromagnetic field. So it's an electromagnetic field around our heart, and we give out our emotions constantly, how we're feeling. Subconsciously, we don't always know we're doing it. And our dogs have also got that electromagnetic field. And when theirs mixed with ours, they pick up on our emotions. So that is why when you're walking a dog on a lead and people say to me, I try so hard not to think anxiously and not to be anxious around them. This is still anxious. Regardless of what you're doing here consciously, subconsciously you've still got that anxiety, and it's your heart that they're picking up on. So those emotions that you're really feeling, regardless of what your brain's saying, that's what they're picking up on. Sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. We've had issues with our house recently, you know, the possibility of losing it, and the worry and the stress of, oh my God, if I lose the house, what am I going to do with the dogs, and where are we going to go, and everything else. And I've tried so hard. I've done various different meditations and, you know, calming, relaxation techniques. I've done all the coping mechanisms you can think of, and I thought I was doing really well. When I actually sort of went into it and how I was feeling, I was like, yeah, no, I feel all right about this. I'm calm, I'm okay. But my dog showed me I wasn't, because their behaviour started to escalate. And that's when I had to sit down and go, okay, what's really happening with me? And I had to really work deeply on my fears, my phobias, and the stress it was causing me, because it was triggering them. So what I want to do is pick up on a couple of behaviours you've told me about in your online applications. So, and just have a look at what could be causing it. So you've got barking, okay? So you've got a dog that barks. I've got several dogs that bark, and they all bark for different reasons. So you've got ones that bark because they're excited, others that bark because they're absolutely terrified of things. You've got fears, excitements, anxieties, frustrations, you know, play. You know, it's just, there's so many different reasons a dog could bark. And it's finding out what the reason your dog's barking is, really. Aggression. So when you've got an aggressive dog, it could be fear-based. It could be anxiety, it can be frustration, it can be stress, it can be excitement. Anxiety, we see anxiety a certain way. We always think, oh, my dog's anxious, my dog's this, my dog's that. And this is what I didn't like about general behaviour. General behaviour went in, and like people would say to me, oh, my dog suffers with separation anxiety. I'm sure it's separation anxiety. And I'd go in and go, oh, yeah, this is how we deal with that. And it was like that dog then had to behave a certain way, because I'd said, yeah, that's how we deal with separation anxiety. And then when the parents came back to me and said, this isn't working, well, you can't be doing it right, because that's how when we learn to train a dog, we train out of separation anxiety. So you're obviously not doing it right. And this would be going backwards and forwards, and they try this. And it didn't matter. It doesn't matter what behaviour techniques you learn, there is a set way of dealing with anxiety. But what if it's not anxiety? So I went to see a dog a few years back that they said definitely anxiety. When I leave the house, he runs around the house, barking, destroys things. He's definitely got separation anxiety. And I went, okay, fine, not a problem. I went in, I connected with the dog. The dog didn't have separation anxiety. The dog was angry, really, really angry. And when we went deeper into it, the reason the dog was angry was because he didn't know when he was going to get fed. It was literally a food-based thing. And he said to me, you know, they go out, they've gone for ages, and I don't know when I'm going to get fed. What if they never come back? What if I never get fed? I'll die. So we just put in place, we changed food times, and we just put it in place that, you know, they'd feed him something before they went out so he felt like he'd eaten and he wasn't so worried. Changed overnight. As soon as they changed his meal times, it changed the separation anxiety. Now, as a behaviourist, you don't go in and think like that. And that's one of my biggest issues with what I used to do. Okay, so we've got regular training versus therapy. Okay, because as you can see, some of the most common behaviours have got a whole range of reasons behind them, and every reason is emotionally charged. Whether it's influenced by how they feel, or whether it's influenced by you or your home environment, it is all emotionally charged, which is why some people try several trainers and behaviourists and still have a problem, because training and behaviour doesn't look at the emotional well-being of a dog. It just looks at what you can do for them mentally, what you can do for them physically, how you can train them to be a certain way, but the dog doesn't always want to be that way. But we don't actually acknowledge that. It's just, this is how they say our dog should be, so this is how we need to train them to be. I see it more as we're forcing them to be a certain way. And don't get me wrong, for me, there are situations when you need training. Okay, and if I think you need training, I will send you to a trainer, because you can't have an out of control dog in public. It's not good for you, it's not good for them. It causes a lot of stress in both areas. And I will always say, you know, you need to have a dog that will walk okay on a lead by a road. It's dangerous not to. You need to have a dog that comes back and doesn't go and harass every other dog. It's dangerous not to. Okay. Part of it is control, part of it is managing the situation, but part of it is training. And when I go into it, I teach the dog why they need it. So I discuss it with the dog and let them know why they need it. But the things that do concern me about the training and behaviour is the fact that I get people all the time, can you fix this with my dog? Can you fix that with my dog? And sometimes the dog doesn't need fixing. You know, it's just that the person doesn't like the behaviour that they're displaying. And I'm like, but it's a dog. You know, one person, for example, oh, can you stop my dog from pulling the bin out every time I go out? Yeah, put the bin out the way every time you go out, because it's a dog, it's a scavenger, and it's going to do it. So if you don't want the bin all on the floor, don't leave the bin in with the dog. You know, and it was literally that simple. But with training and behaviour, what I found is that we're sort of creating a ticking time bomb, and you get worsening behaviours. So what I used to get was, oh yeah, doing really well, we're doing really well, it's great, it's amazing, you know, thanks so much for helping. And then I'd get a week later, yeah, he's doing all right with that, but I found that this is happening now instead. So the barking stopped, that's great, the barking's really stopped, but he's now really chewing up my shoes. Or I'd get, yeah, no, everything's going great, everything's going amazing, everything's going, and then 3 months down the line, I'd get a call that said, don't know what's happened, but we took him on a walk today and he's been fine for months, but suddenly today he's just gone and attacked a dog. And the reason that happens is because if you think about it, if you were forced to spend time with someone that you didn't really like every single day, and you've got to be nice to them, and you've got to sit next to them and have lunch with them, and, you know, put up with every little thing that irritated you about them, how long before you'd go home and start snapping at your family? Or how long before you'd actually turn around and go, do you know what, will you just shut up and leave me alone? You know, we can't do it. If we've got niggles about people and niggles about different things, we will react. And our dogs are absolutely no different. So keep training them to do this and train them to that, and oh, mentally we've got to tell you to do this, and you have to be nice with every dog you see, and we have to play nicely, and oh no, we'll put a muzzle on you because you're biting a dog, or we'll do, you know, the kids can run around like crazy, but you can't, you know, don't nip them, no, come away, come and stay with me, go in that room while the kids are running around. And eventually the dog goes, oh my god, I'm going crazy here, I can't cope with it. And then we wonder what the hell's gone on when they bite, or when they jump up and you know, they've scratched someone. So that's the reason that I turned away from dog behaviour, because I just think we're forcing them to do something and to be something they're not, because society has told us that that's what they've got to do. And as I say, there's times when you need it. You know, I won't take my dogs out around the parks if they haven't got good recall. I'll keep them on a lead, because they can't be running off to every dog and they can't be running off to every person. But at the same time, I don't, if that's what they do and they don't want to come back, I'll keep them on a long line. I won't necessarily force them to do something they don't want to do. So for me, I work with the dog's best interests at heart. I will always think about what's best for them, not what's best for the person. and that doesn't make me very popular sometimes. I have had a couple of people recently that have emailed me, I need you to fix this with my dog, and I've just gone back and said, your dog doesn't need fixing, this is what you need to put in place instead. And it's not been very popular. But for me, it's not about the person, it's about the dog and what is best for them. I'll just like if someone says to me, oh, I don't think, you know, I want this fixed because it's not good for my lifestyle and I don't think it needs fixing, I will tell them they probably shouldn't have a dog. I've got no qualms with doing that. I'm quite honest and quite open with people about it, because it's not about fixing or repairing the dog. They're not broken, they're not machines, they're not a car. You know, this is about living with another living creature that has its own thoughts, has its own feelings, has its own belief system, really. You know, it believes as a dog it should behave in this way. We've brought them into our home. You know, imagine if it was the tables were turned and they were saying, well, actually, no, you need to go around sniffing everyone's backside because that's what dogs do. You know, whereas we're saying, no, you need to behave like this because that's what humans do. You know, but they're not humans, they're dogs. So it's about looking at things from their point of view and managing situations so that they can live the best life and you can live the best life. And that's basically what I do. I go in, I look at what's going on with the dog, I look at what's going on with the person, and I'm sort of like a mediator. So I try and do a mediation so that I can say, right, well, this is it from the dog's point of view, this is it from your point of view, where can we move forward? What do we need to teach? What do we need to manage? What do we need to release? How do we need to look after this dog so as we're caring for it with its best interests at heart and not just saying, you're a dog, this is what you should do. The therapy techniques I use are basically designed, because people think I'm going to go in and do all these therapy techniques and I'm going to work on the dog and I'm going to teach you all these techniques. These are designed to help dogs cope in situations where they have to behave a certain way. So, for example, if you've got a dog that's terrified of a car, these will help you when you've got to go on car journeys. Okay? If you've got a dog that's, you know, scared of visitors coming round, this will help you. If you've got an overexcitable dog when the kids are around, this will help you. This isn't about changing the dog, fixing it, stopping it from being a certain way. It's about giving the dogs ways to manage and cope that you can implement as and when situations arise, worry them, stress them, overexcite them, basically any emotional energy that appears. So the first one we've got is animal communication, and this is my go-to. Obviously, most trainers and behaviourists have to guess why the dog's behaving a certain way. I ask them. I connect with the animal and I ask them. And I usually do it on a Zoom with you so we can talk through the problems. And you know what you've got to do and they know what they've got to do, and we can come to a compromise. Then I have kinesiology, which is basically balancing the energy in the dog. So I'll use muscle testing to find out if there's any blockages in emotional energy, in the meridians, in the chakras, and I'll work out where those are, and I'll use techniques to release them. We have relaxation and grounding, which are various techniques that help you and your dog to relax and ground. And it helps to release any built up emotional energy that the dog's holding on to, because our emotions are trapped. Think about, I always use the example of when I used to work for Pets at Home, there was a lady there that she used to drive me mad. I was a manager, and you know, she'd get away with everything. She'd always be going sick and she'd get away with it, and I was always told, you can't do anything, you know, you need to follow these rules, you need to follow these guidelines, and nothing ever seemed to happen. And I was the one that was always like dealing with the, you know, less colleagues in and working extra because she hadn't turned up. And I'd come home from work and I'd literally, because I couldn't say anything, I couldn't voice anything, I'd be like chopping the dog food, like frantic, having the argument in my head because I couldn't have the argument out loud. And that was just the anger and the frustration that I was holding on to because I was told I couldn't voice it and I couldn't say anything. In fact, we do that to our dogs on a daily basis. Think back to all those behaviours I said they do as an emotional reaction. All the behaviours we stop. On a daily basis, we basically say, I know you're a dog, but you can't do any of those dog behaviours, so you can't show us how you're feeling, and those emotions stay trapped. So the relaxation and the grounding, again, help to release that. Hypnotherapy, it's not like human-based hypnotherapy. It works on a dog's emotional energy rather than their mental state. So basically, again, we'll release any emotional energy and any tension or stress that they're holding in the body. Shelley, is my microphone back yet? Perfect, thank you. Magnetic therapy. So again, it's about releasing emotional energy. And I use the science of kinesiology and muscle testing to work out what trapped emotions they've got. And then I use magnets to release them. Reiki and other energy techniques, again, uses healing energy to release any stuck or trapped emotions, as well as the tensions and the traumas that are stuck in the body. I use canine sensory techniques. These are activities that you and your dogs can enjoy either together, or you can leave them out for your dog to do while you're hoovering or doing something else, as long as you're around and they're not going to chew into pieces and kill themselves. But they're natural ways, so ways that actually play on the dog's natural behaviours in a way that's appropriate for us, so they can release that emotional energy. Flower essences, alternative complementary medicines that again help locate and release the emotional energy that they're holding on to. And aromatics. So I use the natural process of allowing the dogs to self-select from essential oils and hydrosols, and they'll choose the ones they need that closely match how they're feeling, whether it's physically or emotionally, to help them release emotional energy and tension in the body again. The CBD oil I tend to use mostly for anxious dogs. But let me see, Sally, if I can bring that down. I'll just mute myself and unmute myself and see if that's working. Okay, is that any better? Has that worked at all? Perfect. Thank you. Don't know what's going on with that today. Okay, so the canine therapy process. Basically, you have a problem with your dog, not your dog has a problem, you have a problem with your dog. We get to the root of the problem for you and the dog using communication and mediation sessions. That's, as I said earlier, a recorded Zoom session. So you get a recording of it and we go through it all together. We then have, sometimes that will work. Sometimes we do the communication, you understand the dog, they understand you, we've done the mediation, that's enough, you don't have an issue. Other times we need to go a little bit further. So sometimes you go onto my Chaos to Calm program, which is a 4-week program that takes you from a complete hyper crazy dog, crazy life, locates what's going on and takes you to calm. Other times we go on to mentoring, which then basically is sessions. Thanks, Anne. I'll see you later, and I'll send the recording over. Other times it's mentoring sessions. So we go through anything you need to help you with your dog, and I teach you how to do it. Because for me, I can't keep coming around and, well, I can. You're more than welcome to keep paying me to come around to your dog, but I can't do that all over the country. and I can't be there every day with your dog. So it's about me teaching you how to use those techniques I've just mentioned to help your dog while you're getting to the root cause and working out what's going on and working out how to manage the situation rather than changing. I've gone to mentoring purely because when I started with my dogs, I wasn't getting good results. It was almost like, God, surely this doesn't work. You know, there'd be, again, like I said earlier with clients, you go around there, they're fine for a few days, and then they just escalate and they go crazy. When you think there's actually 18 dogs in this house right now, and I'm sitting here doing a Zoom with you, you know, they're not causing me a problem, they're not causing me an issue. There was a time when that would never have happened, and I would never have even got on a Zoom because it would have been just too embarrassing for me. The reason I do I do the mentoring is because I had to change my way. I suffered with anxiety, I suffered with depression, I had a highly stressful job, and I had to get my own emotional issues in order to be able to keep my dogs calm, relaxed, happy. And I still have to, as I said, you know, little things come up that I'm not even aware of, and I think, and I know they're there because they'll suddenly start barking a little bit more, or you know, there'll be a little bit of a growl between, and I think, why are they growling at each other all of a sudden? You know, what's going on between them? And actually it's something that's going on with me. So with the mentoring, it looks at what's going on as a whole in the household, not just what's going on with the dog. And we look at ways for you to help yourself and how you can keep calmer, how you can keep more relaxed, and how you can help your dog in that way as well. And a lot of people don't even realize how they're affecting it. I mean, I did one the other week, and it was just like, it wasn't until we got on the Zoom and we started going through it that the lady went, yeah, I do suffer with anxiety. And it was just like, you know, the penny dropped that actually this is why our dog's as bad as he is, because she hasn't got her anxiety under control like she thought she did. And it's little things like that. The mentoring gives you the tools to help the dog feel better in situations where they don't have a choice. So as I said earlier, you know, there's times where they have to do as they're told. I don't like forcing a dog to do anything. My dogs pretty much do what they like. You know, I don't, if they want to go around the farm, they go around the farm. If they want to go in the garden, they go in the garden. They want to get on my lap, they get on my lap. I don't force them to do anything they don't want to do. It's not that they're not trained, you know, they know how to sit, they know how to walk on a lead. I just don't use it. They're dogs, they're the same as me. I wouldn't walk Kev on a lead, you know, so I just let them go to the van. We live on a farm, so I let them go to the van. So like most people, some people have driveways, they just open the door, the dog goes off because it's an enclosed driveway. But if you don't have that and your car's parked on the road, yes, your dog has to walk on a lead. And in those situations where you have to force them to do something they don't necessarily want to do, this is about giving you ways to help them cope with that. So it's not that they're going to like it and they're suddenly going to be amazing and want to walk on a lead, but it helps release that emotional stress around being on a lead and being trapped and being confined to something. And eventually, with the work that we do in the mentoring, your dogs end up being happy, calm, and content. You know, I don't do a lot of work with my dogs anymore. I cuddle them. That's all I do. I love them. I cuddle them. I live with them, and I accept them for dogs. It's just one of those things that I've learned that I need to accept them as they are rather than keep trying to change them. So with this, it's almost like so a couple of you said to me about having dogs that didn't like going for walks. And I thought I'm going to touch on that because I've got Brian who doesn't like going for walks. And you've got two ways of looking at it. Firstly, all right, you want to go for a walk. Great, lovely. You enjoy a walk, lovely. You can force the dog to do that. You know, take it out for the next 6 months, train it, work with it, you know, get it socializing with other dogs, teach it what you want it to do. How much stress are you causing that dog in those 6 months? Or you can go for a walk without it, leave it at home, because actually dogs wouldn't naturally go for a walk. What dogs would do is go to hunt and then lay down and sleep it off. You know, it's actually quite unnatural to make that dog go out of the house, do a walk, mix with other dogs, play with other dogs, and then come home. That just wouldn't happen in their makeup. So they're the sort of choices that you have to think of. And for me, yes, as I say, I can teach you how to help your dog cope. So if you really want to take your dog out there, I can teach you ways to reduce the stress for the dog until you get it to a point where it will walk out and it will enjoy being with other dogs and it will play. But it's sort of a choice you have to make on what's best for the dog and what's best for you and who are you really doing it for. The other one is peeing in the house. I have had this problem with my dogs and it has driven me mad at times. And again, it's like Brian, he would pee in the house. So what do? Do you force him out the door where he doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel happy, doesn't feel secure because it's not appropriate for you for him to pee in the house? Or do you just go, do you know what, he's going to do it for a little while, so let's put a litter tray down, let's put a puppy pad down, you know, let's put lino. I mean, I had an old boy that couldn't hold it, and it was literally like, well, we'll take the carpet out, we'll put lino down, you know, and if he can't hold it through the night or can't hold it while I'm out dog walking or doing whatever I'm doing for a couple of hours, it's easy to clean up when I get back. You know, it's not about living with it and accepting it and just being like, oh, I'm okay with it, because you're never going to be. But it's about giving you ways to manage it while you deal with compromising and respecting the dog. All of my dogs have actually taught me something, and that's a big part of this canine therapy process, is that a lot of what the dogs will show up will be about an issue that's in you. So we do tend to look at, why have you got an issue with the dog barking? Why have you got an issue with it not wanting to go for a walk? Why have you got an issue with it not wanting to get in the car? And we go deeper into it. Why have you got an issue when it barks at other dogs? And a lot of that is, my biggest one, when I get to the root cause of barking at other dogs in public or pulling on the lead, it's embarrassment. You know, people get really embarrassed that their dogs in public aren't behaving the way society says they should behave. And then they're sort of like, oh my God, I'm going to be all over Facebook as the bad dog owner, the out of control dog, and what am I going to do? It's fear, it's embarrassment. It's not about the dog at all, because the dog's just behaving the way it needs to because of how it feels. It doesn't feel safe, or it feels overexcited. And we also don't really understand the behaviours. So the times that I go out and see a dog because it's barking in public and it's reacting to other dogs, and it's just excited. It's so excited to see another dog. And people don't realise. So for me, it's about learning from the dogs as well. It's learning what they're here to teach us. And I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for the experiences I had with Chelsea, with Brian. I've learned so much from them. And even Paddy, my little Jack Russell Paddy, has really, really helped me. He's got him on the next slide. Yeah, he's there. He's really, really helped me recently, because, you know, trying to work out what the best thing to, I mean, he came as a biter. He was a complete nightmare. He's bitten the other dogs, he's bitten me, he's gone crazy. And everything I was doing wasn't working. He was just escalating. And I'm thinking, is he showing me that I need to incorporate the training techniques alongside my therapy? So do we still need behaviour training? Do I still need to be doing that? That didn't work. And my relationship with him really suffered, to the point that me and Kev had the conversation of, should we rehome him? Because although he's got problems and we were just passing the problem to someone else, I couldn't work with him. I couldn't manage him. I couldn't as sad as it is, I couldn't love him because he was driving me that I was so angry with him all the time. And then it just got to a point where I just thought, I can't pass the problem on. He'll end up being put to sleep. So I'm just going to have to, you know, dinner times, I'll put him in a crate so he doesn't have to go over food. I'll make sure that he's in a crate when I go out. I'll make sure he's, you know, when I'm letting all the other dogs out for a wee, I've got him in my arms so he's not down attacking them when the excitement builds up. I'll manage it. And as soon as I started accepting him for who he was and managing it, his behaviour completely changed. And that's the thing. Sometimes we have to listen to what they're saying to us. And I was so angry I couldn't communicate with him. But when I finally did, all he wanted was to be accepted. All he wanted was for me to say, okay, I get you like that. I understand why you're like that. Let's just work around it. And as I've been working, I mean, I don't even have to pick him up now and hold him while they go out. They can all go out together now and he doesn't attack anybody. He's absolutely great. But it took for me to accept him. So again, for me, it's about looking at what's shown up in your life to help you move forward, looking at what they're bringing to the table and what you can learn from them, and getting to the root cause of the issues, the behaviour with you as well as with them. So since doing the communication, I have been given a list of things that dogs want from us. Okay, these are things that dogs have communicated that they want, which is what I've based all this around. They want to be treated as equal. You know, they're exactly the same as us. Yes, they're in dog form. Yes, they have their own traits and their own canine behaviours, but they're a soul in a physical body the same as us, and they want to be treated like that. They don't want to be treated as a different species. They don't want to have the behaviours forced on them because it's more acceptable for us if they behave in a certain way. They want us to understand why they're not behaving in that certain way and to help them through it. A bit of understanding is what the phrase was. A bit of understanding is all we ask. I got from one of them. They want to discuss things like living being to living being. They don't understand this world, but they'll fully admit that. They don't understand cars. That's just something to chase. Oh my God, we've got this chase mentality. We can chase those wheels. They're amazing. They don't understand that it's dangerous and it's not the same as chasing a rabbit or a squirrel. That's where we come in to say to them, this is why you can't do it. Explain it to them, help them understand why they have to be on that lead, why they have to walk nicely, why they can't attack every dog that comes the other way, why they can't chase every cat that's hiding under a car. You know, it's about helping them to understand our world. Day-to-day living, they like being equal family members. One thing one said to me is, I'm not owned. The TV's owned. I'm not owned. I'm my own person. But think about how you'd want to be treated. You know, if the boot was on the other foot and they were the superior species, as we like to think we are, would you want to be treated the way you treat your dog? Or the way we treat dogs in general? Because I wouldn't want to be controlled like that. I mean, we are to a certain extent, you know, we work, the government, everything else controls our lives, but we control theirs a lot more. And they can't be themselves. They can't have fun. They can't enjoy life. My dogs live to the age they live to. I mean, I've had dogs that have lived, Jack Russell's living to 22. I've got one that's 18 in the other room. I've got a shepherd that's 16. They live to the age they live to because they're stress-free and they're able to live as dogs. They're not confined. They're not treated like a lesser being. They are treated the same as I would want to be treated. And they've asked as well that we treat them as, I mean, one person had 3 children and a dog, and he just said, I just want to be treated like your children. Treat me the way you treat your children, I'll be happy. You know, I'm not a different species, I'm just another child. And that's how they see themselves. Okay, so how can I help you help your dogs? Okay, as you see, dog behaviour can be a myriad of things: barking, biting, chewing, anxiety, the stress, the worry, the pulling on a lead. It's all down to an emotion that they're feeling, and you need to get to the bottom of that emotion. If you're not doing that and you're just trying to train them out of it all the time, you're not fixing the problem like everyone thinks we are. We'll just fix the dog, we'll fix the problem. You're not. You're literally painting over it and hoping that it will go away, and it's not going to, because the emotion is still there. So the way I help is I do the communication and mediation sessions. We get to the root cause of what is going on for you, what is going on for your dogs, why you're so stressed out about the behaviours, why they're doing the behaviours, and we work out a plan from there. Okay, whether that's just explaining to the dog. I had one time that literally he was attacking another dog in his household, and when I got onto the session, it turns out they'd had another dog put to sleep, but he didn't know the dog had been put to sleep. All he knew is that mum had taken this dog out one day, not come back with it, and then 2 weeks later another dog appeared. He didn't know what had happened to his friend, and I had to sit there and explain what putting to sleep meant and that his friend had died. Okay, and once he understood that, it was that simple. He realised that his friend wasn't coming back. His friend hadn't just been chucked out. He wasn't suddenly going to be chucked out so mum could bring another dog home. You know, the friend just wasn't around anymore. And he made new friends, you know, but we had to explain that to him. You know, you don't realise how dogs see things until you actually get into this and work it out from their point of view. So that's always my first step, is to work it out from their point of view. Then, if it turns out it's, for example, an excitable household or a stressful household, or, you know, one lady had, say the lady with the 3 kids and the dog, we went onto the Coast to Calm program. Okay, that's a 4-week program. It's either self-learn or it's one-to-one with me, and we go through it, and that basically helps you look at your life and look at what's going on around you, and work out how we can calm things down and bring calm back into the household, bring calm back into the dogs' lives, and help them manage the overexcitability or the frustrations or the angers that they're feeling. If we've got deeper issues and we've got a lot of problems and there's a lot going on with you, so the person who is suffering anxiety herself, dogs that are really highly stressed, or even people that just want to learn, that's fine, Helen, thank you. Just people that want to learn this process and want to learn these techniques and want to learn how to put this in their life and how to treat their dogs the way I treat my dogs. People that I've had go, oh my God, I've seen your videos of how calm your dogs are. I just want my dogs like that. And we just go in and we do the mentoring, and I usually do it in 3-month packages. So it's either 1 session or 2 sessions a month. But we just do the mentoring packages, and we go through and I teach you how to do it. Because for me, it's about not just teaching you how to do what I do, but bringing your emotional levels down at the same time so that you can actually help your dog. So I've moved all my screens down now and I can't find my button to change the thing. So basically, I do all those services separately, and all my prices and my testimonials and that are on my website. So you're welcome to take on any of those packages separately. What I've done for now is set up with these 2 packages that are available until Sunday. And basically, these will give you everything. These will give you everything start to finish for 6 months to help you with your dogs and work on your exact behaviours or your exact issues, help you understand your dog, help you work out where they're coming from, and help you live with them as a living being, not just as a dog. Okay, so we've got the top dog package. This basically will give you a 45-minute animal communication session. Okay, that will get to the root cause, all recorded, so you've got it all to keep. That will get to the root cause of what your problem is with your dog. Okay, and it will start to give you an idea of the things that you have to put in place. You'll then have full access to the Chaos to Calm self-learn program. So that 4-week program, you'll get the 4 videos for you to go through, and it will explain everything as you need it. It will then give you one 90-minute one-to-one mentoring session every month for 6 months, which is where we literally go through your issues, what's going on for you, what's going on for your dog, and we'll start to teach you the techniques that you need to put in place in your life for them. And then on top of that, we will do a 60-minute group call every month for 6 months, where you'll be part of a private Facebook group for the 6 months, where you can put questions in at any time and I will answer them. Literally, if I'm awake in the UK, you will get an answer. That's the way if any of my clients ever message me, they'll get an answer. I don't sit there and go, oh, I'll leave that till tomorrow. That's not me. I want to be helping you. I want to be telling you how to help fix it, what you need to do, I want to be calming you down and keeping you as level-headed as possible, because I know what it's like. I've been there in the kitchen rocking, going, I just can't do this anymore, and I know what that's like. In that Facebook group, I will put a post up every month asking for your questions, because then if anybody can't make that 60-minute group call, it will be recorded. If it goes over 60 minutes, it goes over 60 minutes. I'm not going to be strict with time on that. I will answer every question that comes up for that. But it's just so we can discuss it as a group, and because you'll have a question that someone else will have, but you'll be too scared to ask it. So for me, getting on a group call every month and just knowing that other people are struggling the same as you really does help. All of that I've got on an offer value of £1,499. If you were to purchase all of that separately, it would come to just under £300 more than that. So that's saving you £300. That works out. Right, got someone else messaging me. Shut that down because it's just coming in. So that works out at £249 a month, or 35p every hour, to have one-to-one access to me for 6 months to constantly support you with anything you and your dog needs. Okay. And as I say, I am literally going to be there every step of the way to hold. For me, it's about holding your hand. It's not about going to you, this is what you do with your dog, see you later. I want to hold your hand through these processes. The next one is the Best in Show package. Okay, so you basically get everything you got in the Top Dog, the full access to the Calm Learning Program, the 45-minute animal communication, the 90-minute mentoring session, but you get a second one every month. So instead of just one, you will get 2 mentoring sessions. So you have one every 2 weeks. Plus you'll get your 60-minute group call, and you'll get the access to the private Facebook page as well. That is £1,999 for the 6 months. Again, saves you nearly £300 if you were to purchase it all separately. And it works out £333 a month, or 46p an hour, to have me helping you with your dog constantly. Okay. Okay, there are also payment packages. Obviously, you can pay the one-time full payment. That's not a problem. But I've also got a 3-month payment plan option and a 6-month payment plan option, because I know it's a lot of money. I know how I would feel if I had that up in front of me. And I just want to be able to help you. At the end of the day, this is about me showing you a different, what I believe is a better way of living with our dogs. So instead of imposing our will on them and saying, this is what society says you should do, this is how you should behave, this is what you need to be doing. This is about us going, okay, so why are you doing that? What can I do to help you? How can I make your life better? How can we do it so my life's better? And actually working as a partnership with your dog instead of against each other all the time. So for me, you know, I will do payment plans, but I want to be there. That's why I've put it together like this. I don't just want to say, right, thanks, 3 months, see you later. No, you're on your own now. I want to be there holding your hand until you've got this and until you understand it. That offer does end at 8 o'clock on Sunday though, purely because I've got a limited amount of spaces. So if I had it going on forever, I can't keep taking people in on that. I've only got a limited amount of time that I can obviously work with people and their dogs. With the one-to-ones, there's only so many one-to-ones I can fit in a week, so I've got a limited amount of spaces on there. Okay, I've been keeping an eye on the chat on the way through, but I haven't seen any questions come up. Has anybody got any questions at all? If you just want to start popping them in the chat, if you've got any questions, or just say me and I'll unmute you to ask you questions. It's entirely up to you. It depends on the reason for the travel sickness, Shelley. Obviously, it depends on whether they're being sick because they're overexcited or whether they're being sick because they're stressed. It's probably something for us to look into with the communication and see exactly why they're being sick, being travel sick. Because it could just be something stupid like, oh, not your dog. It could be something stupid like they're does it matter? We didn't do your dog last time I spoke to you. But it could be something stupid like, you know, they're feeding it, although they're not feeding it right before they leave, the food's still in the stomach, or they need to feed it because the stomach's empty, and it could be the movement, they need to cover the windows. It's worth checking in with the dog and seeing exactly why the travel sickness is coming up. I had one before where the dog just didn't feel secure. It'd been in one of those car harnesses and the owner had to brake quick and it hit the seat. And we just put it in a crate in the boot and it resolved it, you know. So it's about looking at the reasons that it's happening, and if you find the reason, we can work that one out. Alison, yes, 100%. Yes, it is possible. My communication story, I'll just go through this. So back when I first got Chelsea, and about 2012, so got him in 2011, spent a year being bitten and terrorized and like sobbing my heart out. And the first thing I found was animal communication. And I thought, I know what I do. I'll learn that and find out why he's biting me and what's going on for him and things like that. And I actually learned animal communication in 2020. So nearly 10 years on. And I did 4 different workshops. I did 3 different weekend workshops, and I did an online training workshop. I went to various different meditation groups, because you know you're meant to meditate to connect and get yourself in this right state and do this and do that. And when I went to the lady that actually taught me how to communicate, I was in tears. I was saying to her, I just can't do it. Everyone keeps saying everyone can do it, and people keep telling me I can do it, but I can't. I get a photo and there's nothing coming through. The reason there was nothing coming through is because I thought when you communicate with a dog, it should be words. So I thought it's like communicate with a person. you know, you're having a conversation, you ask the question, they give you the answer. It's like communication, right? It's not. They send through thoughts, they send through feelings, they send through emotions, physical sensations, tastes, smells. They're not so nice. I won't lie, they're not so nice. But it's like the other half just come home, so that's why I've got dogs barking in the background. But yeah, they send for all different things. So yes, everybody can do it if you get the right teacher and the right person that will work out what your strengths and weaknesses are and go with it. Shelley, actually, I've been teaching her communication, and we've gone through it all. And every time we come on, I go, right, yeah, now you need to, that's great, you've got that bit down. Now listen to your emotions. Now listen to your physical sensations. Now, and we literally, for me, I want people to expand on everything. I don't want you just thinking, oh, I'll get images, so I'll just go with images, because you'll meet a dog that then sends through emotions and you won't be able to communicate with it. So yes, everybody can do it, but it's about making sure you're learning it in the right way. I've loved it too, Shelley. It's been great. Okay, so yeah, Kerry, again, that with the barking at night and running backwards and forwards to each corner in the garden. Firstly, again, it would be about finding out why she started it. My dogs did it once. They were going mad in the kitchen, and I was like, oh, like, fine, go out. And I opened the back door, and there was 10 of them at the time, and they all went charging down the back garden, hit the fence at the bottom. There was a big commotion. I thought, oh my God, they're killing each other. They are literally killing each other. Went round down there screaming at them to pack it in, as you do. There was a fox. And it literally, as I got there and was shouting, they all sort of stopped still. Mum was shouting at, and the fox jumped up and over the fence. They weren't attacking each other, they were attacking the fox. That was once. It took me 6 months to stop them from running down that corner and barking at that fence every night. Okay, so it could have been that she saw a cat one night. It could have been that she saw, but what you're doing with the lead is you're controlling the emotional energy. So whereas when she's off leash, she knows she can excitedly, and she gets overexcited and she's like, yeah. Once she's on a lead, you're calming that down. So the barking's not happening. So it's about, again, getting to the root cause of why it's happening. And then you can work out how you need to not fix it or change it, but what you need to do about it. How you need to manage her emotional energy. Okay, so Gus is still very excitable when people enter our home. Yes, it could be down to him being a lockdown puppy, but I'm just going to reiterate actually what we spoke about when I came round. What is he getting for it? Okay, because don't forget, our dogs, he's going to get very, very excitable. He's going to get more excitable with the people that are giving him a fuss and scruffing him up. And what energy are those people coming in the house with? Okay, it's like, oh my God, new person, this is great. Think about children when grandparents come to visit. Okay, they absolutely love it. But you need to look at the energy of, and again, it's about managing his emotional energy, so managing his excitement. So just making sure that we're doing all those calming exercises that we did when I first came round, because he was a hell of a lot better when I came round the sort of 4th time to when I came round the first time. So lockdown puppies, they go one way or the other. They either go overexcitable or they go really nervous and anxious. But it's also his breed. He's a very excitable breed. And again, it's going to be about managing his emotional level rather than changing it, because it's inbred in him, really. So it's fine. Again, I would connect with him, find out why he's so excited, what is it he's getting from these people, and compromise with him or at least know how to then work on it and manage it. Yeah, your two dogs do communicate completely differently, Shelley. Okay, Hayley, I did communication work with Joanne Yell. She was absolutely amazing, but it is one of the things that I cover in my mentoring. Shelley has been doing it since November, December. And that just started with me doing a communication session with her two dogs. And then she messaged me about 2 or 3 weeks later and said, I'm away and my dogs are going crazy at the house where they are. Can you connect in and see what's going on? And obviously we then went from there, because for me, yes, you can pay me every time you go away and I'll communicate with your dogs and try and calm them down and make sure they're okay and pass on any messages you want to pass on and bring back any messages from them to you. But I would much rather spend 3-6 months teaching you how to do it, so that you can connect in with them and you've got that connection when you do have to go away and leave them. So, or when you do need to find out what's, I don't like saying this because I don't like just communicating with dogs when there's something wrong. It's a bit like someone coming into you and going, you're right, and you go, yeah, no, you're not, what's the matter with you? And you're like, no, I'm fine. No, you're not, you can't be fine. And that's what we do to our dogs all the time. We only really want to communicate with them when there's something wrong. So what I teach is about having that open two-way conversation all the way through. Just check in and see how the day's been. Share your day with them and just get that back and forth. So then when it comes to there's something wrong, you can turn around and go, okay, George, do you want to share what's going on there with me? And they're like, oh yeah, there you go, that's what's wrong. Because if you just go in with questions all the time, it doesn't always work. So yeah, for me, I would much rather sit and teach you how to communicate than do it myself all the time. Two cats do sit on the wall. Honestly, once they get a habit, you could spend the rest of her life working out why she runs to that bottom of the garden barking. Okay, unless you ask her what's caused it, why does she do it, how can we help her to change it? Or it might even be that she doesn't realize it's a problem. One of my boys, but like as you heard, they bark when Kev comes in. We had a conversation about it. I was like, why do you do it? Like, why do you have to bark when he comes in? Like, he lives here. He literally walked out the door, came back in again, and you're barking. He's only just left. Like, why? Oh, I just enjoy it. Yeah, well, I don't enjoy it. But he didn't realise it was such a problem to me. To him, Kev was the problem to me, because every time Kev appears, I get angry. You know? And I was like, no, it's not Kev, it's your barking. But they just don't always realise that it's a problem. Yeah, so just, again, use those techniques. I know we used the crate last time. Your house isn't really set up, Ashley, to control it. In my house is set up like with dog gates everywhere. So if one of mine gets a bit too overexcitable, we just take them away from the situation to calm it down. Remember what I said to you about the emotional energy, and you know, if he can still see you, he's still excited about it. So yeah, the ignoring him isn't necessarily going to bring the excitement levels down. It's almost like you have to give him a timeout, and a chance to, the only thing he can do is relax. And then obviously when he's relaxed and he's calm, he can then come in and try again. But if he's getting too overexcitable, Chelsea does it with my niece. And Chelsea absolutely adores my niece, and it drives me mad because she comes in, she's like, can I see Chelsea? Can I see? But she's 9 years old, very excitable. And Chelsea's like, yeah, hey, let's bounce all over this child. And then she's like, I don't want him in my face, and I don't want him there, and I don't want him there. And I'm like picking him up and trying to move him, and he's trying to get to her. So a lot of the time I just say, no, he can stay in the other room. He can stay calm. You can leave him alone. And when you go, he can come out again. you know, because it's just, sometimes it's about keeping that emotional level down. And if your visitors can't keep it down and he can't keep it down, it's like I said to you before, once that emotional level is that high, they're basically like that toddler in a shop having a tantrum. Okay, you could literally, you get your toddler, they want a comic, and you're like, no, you're not having a comic, put it back. I want the comic, and the tantrum starts, right? And you can say anything to them. You can offer them anything. You can even turn around and go, okay, have the Poxy comic. I don't want the comic, because they're not listening to what you're saying, because that tantrum's too high. They're too emotionally charged to listen. And that's the problem you have with Gus. As soon as he hits that overexcitement level, you can do and say what you like with him, but he can't listen because he's too emotionally charged. He's got to calm down to then be able to work out mentally and physically how to behave. I've gone through all that and Ashley's left anyway. Yeah, very useful for husbands. I'll tell you what I do find useful for husbands, if you just lock them out. My the other half does it. If he gets on my nerves too much, I just shut the front door, lock it from the inside, and he can stay out there till he calms down a bit. He did do me once though, because I didn't realise the back gate was unlocked from my side, and he just walked through the back gate and came in the back door. So I always make sure the back gate's locked as well. But yeah, again, it's just shut him out, give him calm down time, and he can come in when he's behaving. But yeah, so basically, thanks Mardell. Yeah, basically that's what I do. That's how I work. That's how I've got 18 calm dogs. That's how I had 22 calm dogs, 25 calm dogs. It's taken me a lot of years to develop, but now I'd really like to be able to help you guys with it, and to push it further and get it further out there. Okay. Any further questions? No, doesn't look like it. Okay. Happy dogging. Don't think that means the same in America as it does in England, Mardell. I'll explain that one later. Okay. Right. Right, thank you everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for turning up. Any questions, anything you want to know, message me. I'm happy to answer anything. As I say, I'll put the website out there anyway, on my Facebook page, but it's www.therapy- oh yeah, I'll put it on here, can't I? Forgot I could type. It's usually an absolute nightmare because I usually try and do it with touch screen and I can't. Okay, so that's my website. If you want to have a look at it and have a look at the services separately, obviously those packages are going to be available with the payment plans up until Sunday. So just drop me a message. You'll get an email out in the next, I think it's next half an hour, which will have a link for an application form for the packages anyway. So if you are interested, just pop it across, and we'll go from there. But thank you very much for coming. Good to speak to you all. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.